Come closer. The shadows have missed you, and tonight they have a new story to tell. Welcome to Scary Stories After Dark. Snow fell in thick white curtains as Nick Skinner pulled into the Shadow Falls precinct parking lot. His cruiser groaned in protest, heater dying with a sigh. He sat there for a beat, watching the flakes smear across the windshield, watching the building loom over him like something half asleep. First night, first shift. First time spending Christmas away from home. He exhaled once, grabbed his duffel, and stepped out into the biting cold. The precinct was older than the academy made it sound, 6 stories of brick stacked on top of darker history. Christmas lights lined the entryway railings, half were burned out. The angels flanking the stairs were buried in snow, faces smoothed to blank stone. The town lit up warm below the hill. Up here, everything felt still. When Nick looked up at the 6th floor window, a figure stood in the glass. Tall, still, watching, he blinked. It vanished. Great start, he muttered. Inside, the lobby smelled like old coffee and the lingering fatigue of too many holiday shifts. A sad Christmas tree drooped in one corner. A cardboard snowman had lost an eye. Officer Jada Ruiz manned the front desk, pen tapping lazily. "You must be Skinner." He nodded, trying not to look as nervous as he felt. "Yes, ma'am. Sorry. Yes." "No, ma'am, unless you want me to haunt your dreams. Sign in. Dawson's waiting upstairs." Nick signed. She watched him with a mix of curiosity and mild pity. "Elevators on the fritz," Ruiz added. "If it stalls, scream loud. Acoustics are great tonight." He forced a laugh and stepped inside. The elevator jerked upward. Lights flickered once, twice. Nick's stomach dipped as the car shuddered to a stop between floors. "Oh, come on," he whispered. Red emergency lights blinked on, washing the walls in a slow pulse. His reflection wavered in the metal doors. Pale, tense, trying to look like someone who belonged here. The lift lurched back to life. Ding. 4th floor. He stepped out into the detective's bullpen. Dim lights, paper piles, coffee stench, a whiteboard with happy holidays scrawled above a Santa doodle who looked deeply disappointed in life. Detective Ace Dawson stood by the coffee maker, built like a retired linebacker, leather jacket, and quiet gravity. He looked Nick over once. "Rookie." "Yes, sir. I mean, Dawson." Dawson smirked. "You'll adjust. We all did." He introduced the others. Milo, the chip stacker, Ruiz, who gave Nick a lazy salute, and Winder, the lieutenant, roaming somewhere like a cigarette ghost. "You'll meet Kane soon," Dawson said, pouring coffee. She's downstairs interrogating our favorite headache." As if summoned, the lights flickered again. A faint scraping echoed overhead. Nick glanced up. "Did you hear that?" "Hear what?" Milo asked. The sound faded. Nick swallowed. The hour crawled on. Snow beat against the windows, thick and relentless. Radios crackled with half messages. The quiet pressed in from all sides. Then a voice broke the stillness. Rough, annoyed, crackling through Dawson's radio. "Kane to Dawson, your rookie better be easier than this guy." Gemma Kane sounded exactly like the Academy warned. Dangerous, competent, tired of everyone's nonsense. Nick imagined her, sharp features, clipped tone, eyes that never flinched. He didn't imagine what came next. A scream tore through the building, muffled but unmistakable. A second followed, closer, rawer. Dawson froze mid-step. Ruiz stopped breathing. Milo dropped his coffee. "Kane?" Dawson barked into the radio. Static answered. Then, "He's loose. He—" The voice cut off. Dawson didn't hesitate. "Move." Nick followed, heart pounding as they sprinted down the stairwell. Emergency lights flickered red across the concrete. The smell hit them halfway down. Blood, fresh and sharp. The third-floor door slammed open. A figure stumbled out. Gemma Kane. Bleeding, covered from shoulder to wrist. Dawson caught her as she staggered. "Gemma, what happened?" "He bit me," she snapped, breath hot and furious. "Little freak came across the table, took 3 officers down with him." Nick saw her clearly for the first time. Powerful presence, eyes like cold steel, blood soaking her collar and sleeve. She wasn't scared. She was angry. Behind her, the hallway lights stuttered in and out. Nick squinted into the flicker. Something moved in the interrogation room. Low, crawling, fast. A sound scraped forward, wet and dragging, claws on tile. Nick's breath locked in his throat. Gemma saw the look on his face. She turned. The lights went out. And Shadow Falls stopped being a normal night. The hallway was dead silent the moment the lights died. Nick froze at the bottom of the stairwell, body stiff, senses wide open. Darkness swallowed everything except the faint pulsing red from the emergency strips along the floor. That soft glow cut across Gemma's face, turning the blood on her skin into black streaks. Something moved in the dark. Slow, wet, dragging. Gemma didn't flinch. She shoved Nick backward with one bloody hand, her voice low and sharp. "Stay behind me." Nick didn't argue. She radiated the kind of confidence you didn't question. Dawson raised his flashlight, clicked it. Nothing. He shook it once. Flicker. Dead. "Of course," he muttered. Ruiz eased up beside them, her breath quick, eyes scanning the shadows. "We need eyes in there." Gemma stepped forward, a faint sliver of light, just enough to show the open interrogation room door. Blinked alive as the emergency backup finally kicked in. The light stuttered, painting the hall in flashes. White, black, red, white, black, red. Another scrape. A wet one, something heavy shifting its weight. Nick's heart slammed once against his ribs. Gemma angled toward the open doorway. That's where he went, The way she said he made Nick's skin crawl. They approached slowly, each footstep measured. Gemma favored her injured arms slightly, but her posture stayed deadly steady. She was bleeding, bruised, and still the most unshakable person in the hall. Nick almost admired her. Almost, if admiration didn't sit right beside fear in his throat. The emergency light flickered again, this time long enough for Nick to see the inside of the room. The interrogation table had been flipped over, chairs knocked aside, papers scattered like snow. A smear of blood across the wall. No, not a smear. Fingers, 5 of them, dragged downward. The inmate's name flickered through Nick's mind. Cal Becker, petty theft, disorderly conduct, known for starting fights but never finishing them. None of that explained this. Dawson whispered, "Skinner, your eyes are younger. What do you see?" Nick leaned in slowly. Calf muscles drawn tight, breath caught, and peered into the room during the next pulse of dim light. Then he saw it. A shape crouched in the far corner. Almost human, but not. Arms too long, back arched unnaturally, head tilted at an angle a neck shouldn't allow. Blood glistened across bare ribs, ribs that pressed through skin like they wanted out. Cal Becker was changing. Nick's breath hitched softly. He's not right. Ruiz swallowed. That's an understatement. Cal, or whatever he was becoming, lifted his head, not fast, not slow. Just wrong, like every movement lagged behind where the bones wanted to go. His eyes gleamed in the emergency red light, reflective, animal-like, heat-seeking, predatory. Then his mouth opened, not a scream, not a growl, a clicking sound, deep and fast, like teeth tapping together at a speed no human jaw should move. Gemma stepped back. "Dawson, we need to..." Cal launched, a blur of muscle and claws moving on all fours, slamming across the room with terrifying speed. Dawson shoved Gemma aside just as Cal hit the doorway. The creature's claws raked the frame, metal bent under the impact. Nick sprinted without thinking. Gemma caught herself against the opposite wall, jaw clenched, eyes blazing. "Move!" Dawson yelled. They did. Cal lunged out, scrambling crab-like across the walls and ceiling, body contorting into angles that made Nick's stomach twist. The creature's speed didn't match its weight. It moved like it weighed nothing at all. Ruiz fired her taser. Electricity snapped across the hallway, hitting nothing. Cal had already dropped from the ceiling behind Milo, who had just stepped through the stairwell door. "Milo!" Nick shouted. Too late. Cal slammed into him. They went down hard. Milo's scream tore through the corridor. Gemma didn't hesitate. She kicked the creature in the ribs, hard enough that something cracked. Cal skittered backward, hissing, body contorting as though trying to reassemble itself around pain. Dawson grabbed Milo under the arms and dragged him into the stairwell. Milo's shirt was already soaked red. The creature had ripped deep. "Go!" Dawson barked. "Up the stairs!" They bolted. Cal slammed into the stairwell door behind them, claws screeching across metal. The sound went straight through Nick's teeth. Ruiz grabbed the railing, breath shaking. "It's learning us. It's learning how we move." Nick didn't want to think about what that meant, or the way he'd seen those reflective eyes studying them. Cataloging. The stairwell lights flickered again, long enough for Nick to look up the flights of stairs. For a moment on the landing above, he saw it. a shape standing perfectly still, tall, human-like, cloaked in shadow as though the darkness was choosing to cling to it. Watching them, then gone, just like the figure at the window earlier. Gemma looked at Nick. She had seen nothing, but she was watching him now with suspicion, like she could sense the shift inside him. They spilled onto the 4th floor again. Milo was pale, slumped against a desk. Dawson pressed his jacket to the wound, but blood seeped through quickly. "We need the infirmary," Dawson growled. "It's downstairs," Ruiz reminded him. "Then we barricade and wait for medical," Dawson decided. Nick stared at Milo's shaking hands. Cal had bitten deep. A cold truth slid into Nick's mind like a knife. That wasn't a normal bite. Milo wasn't going to stay Milo. Gemma leaned her shoulder against the wall, breathing hard, eyes unfocused for a moment before she steadied herself. Nick saw the tremor in her hand. She was fighting something too. And deep down, Nick knew. This wasn't an attack. This wasn't a freak incident. This was the beginning. Milo's breathing grew ragged in the dim bullpen, his fingers twitching like they were reaching for something he couldn't see. Nick hovered at his side, useless, helpless, wishing he had a weapon, wishing he had anything. Outside the barricaded stairwell door, claws scraped, slow, deliberate, testing the barrier. Dawson shoved a filing cabinet against the door and braced it with a desk. "That thing's coming back. Ruiz, keep pressure on Milo. Skinner, eyes on the hallway." Nick swallowed the burn in his throat. "Yes, sir." He positioned himself near the shattered glass office divider, watching shadows slide across the far end of the hall. The emergency lights blinked on and off, each pulse revealing just enough to feed anxiety rather than relieve it. Gemma leaned one shoulder against the wall, her breath shallow. Blood darkened the sleeve she'd tied around her arm. Her jaw clenched each time Milo groaned. Nick noticed the tremor again, faint but real. "Are you okay?" he whispered. "Peachy," she muttered. "Don't babysit me, rookie." But she didn't meet his eyes. Ruby smears streaked the walls around them. From the sprint up the stairs or from officers they hadn't found yet, papers drifted gently in the cold draft creeping under the door. Somewhere above, a vent gave a low metallic groan, like the building was struggling to breathe. Ruiz pressed fresh fabric to Milo's wound. "His pulse is fast, too fast." "It's shock," Dawson said, but his voice lacked conviction. Nick couldn't look away from Milo's face. The way his pupils dilated and narrowed like they were fighting each other. A wet pop echoed down the hall. Nick froze. Gemma froze. Dawson lifted his head. "Tell me that wasn't," Ruiz whispered. The sound came again. Wet, sharp. Like bone pushing against something that didn't want to give. Milo arched suddenly, a strangled gasp ripping from his throat. Ruiz jerked backward, startled. He convulsed once, twice, hands gripping the carpet hard enough that his nails scraped fibers loose. "Milo?" Dawson leaned in. "Stay with me." Milo didn't hear him. Nick watched in horror as Milo's shoulder blades shifted under his skin, like something inside was rearranging them. His back hitched upward, his spine looked wrong, too defined, too sharp. Gemma flinched. It's happening again. Dawson's jaw tightened. No, not Milo. Milo's body jerked like he'd been electrocuted. Then he went still. Too still. Ruiz, Dawson said tightly. Don't touch him. Ruiz froze, hand half stretched. Nick took one slow breath as Milo's chest rose, long, shuddering, then fell. Silence. For a moment, Nick hoped, stupidly, desperately, that maybe Milo had just passed out. Then Milo's head turned. Not lifted, not rolled, turned. Slowly, deliberately. Eyes snapping open, pupils blown wide, white swallowed in reflective sheen like an animal's. Nick stumbled backward. Dawson! Milo's limbs contorted, elbows bending wrong, legs folding under him as he pushed to all fours, his fingers clawed into the carpet, dragging deep. Milo, Ruiz's voice cracked. Milo, please. Gemma grabbed her wrist. Back now. Dawson stepped forward instinctively, as if ready to pull Milo back to humanity. Stay down, Jennings. Stay. Milo lunged. He didn't lurch like a wounded man. He sprang, weightless, fast, every muscle tight and precise. Dawson barely blocked the hit, slamming forearms up as Milo's jaws snapped inches from his face. Nick froze for half a heartbeat as the two crashed into the desk. Papers exploded into the air. Milo clawed at Dawson's vest, snarling, a wet, clicking rattle echoing from deep in his throat. Nick moved before he could think. He grabbed the overturned chair and swung. The impact knocked Milo sideways. He skittered across the floor, limbs bending like there were no joints to guide them. He hit a wall and twisted upright again, crawling like a spider on too many hands. Dawson stumbled back. Skinner, keep him away from Ruiz. Ruiz scrambled behind the copier, tears streaking her cheeks. Gemma pushed off the wall, staggering for a moment before she caught herself, eyes locked on Milo's shifting form. He's adapting faster than Becker. Nick kept the chair between Milo and Dawson. He's watching us. He felt it, that same predatory gaze Becker had in the interrogation room, except Milo's was worse. Because Milo knew them. Knew their rhythms, knew how they moved, knew how they feared. A vent above them rattled violently. Nick's heart stopped. Milo's head jerked up toward the sound, body crouched, ready to leap. Don't, Dawson warned. Too late. Milo launched upward, legs kicking off the wall, disappearing into the open vent with a metal shriek. Silence fell again. Not relief, not safety. Just the knowledge that something once human was now in the walls of the precinct. Gemma wiped blood from her brow. We need to move. Dawson dragged a forearm across his mouth, shaken but anger holding him upright. We're heading to the armory, upstairs, now. Nick swallowed hard. We're unarmed. We won't be for long, Dawson snapped. Ruiz shook her head. And Milo? Milo is gone, Gemma said, voice low. Whatever that thing is, it's wearing him, but it's not him. Nick knew she was right. Dawson did too. He just couldn't say it. The vent above them rattled again. Louder. Then another one, farther down the hall. Then another. Nick's blood ran cold. They weren't alone in the vents. Dawson grabbed his flashlight, useless or not. Move. Gemma turned toward the stairwell door. Nick hesitated just long enough to look at the ceiling. The emergency light flickered once more. In the deepest shadow of the hallway, something stood motionless. Tall, watching. The same silhouette he'd seen through the 6th floor window. Nick blinked. Gone. Skinner, Gemma snapped. Now. Nick tore himself away and followed them up the stairs into the dark. The stairwell vibrated as something crawled inside the walls. Metal rattling in short bursts, like teeth chattering against steel. Nick kept his shoulder pressed to the cold concrete, breathing through the burn in his lungs. Dawson led the way, flashlight useless and swinging like a dead weight. Ruiz followed, crying silently but moving. Gemma brought up the rear, one hand against the rail, her wounded arm hanging close to her side. Every few seconds, a vent above them shuddered. Sometimes something scraped across the duct. Sometimes something slid. Nick didn't look up anymore. They burst onto the 4th floor landing and slammed the stairwell door shut. Dawson shoved a bench against it, then a box of printing paper, then a trash bin. Anything he could grab. Ruiz leaned against the wall, shaking. Milo. He was just... I know, Dawson said tightly. Don't look back. We keep moving. Nick heard it then. A faint scuttling, just behind the door they'd blocked. Too quick, too light, too many limbs. He turned away, swallowing the rising nausea. Gemma stumbled. Nick caught her elbow before she hit the ground. Her skin was hot, too hot, beneath his palm. You okay? He whispered. Fine. Her voice cracked once. She swallowed it down and straightened. Keep going. But Nick had seen the way her pupils contracted. Too sharp, too fast, like they were adjusting to shadows before shadows even formed. His stomach twisted. They grouped together and sprinted across the 4th floor toward the next stairwell, but halfway across the bullpen, Nick froze. The lights flickered, first dim, then stuttering, and for a heartbeat, the entire floor flashed white. Bodies. 3 officers he hadn't even met yet, thrown across desks. One bent over the coffee machine, head twisted wrong. Blood sprayed across filing cabinets like someone shook a paintbrush. Dawson's breath left him in a shudder. God. Ruiz gagged, covering her mouth. Gemma didn't look away. Her jaw clenched, her eyes burned. Then the lights went black again. Move, she whispered. They made it to the 2nd stairwell, Dawson tearing the door open and freezing. The stairwell below was drenched in emergency red, not dim red, not flickering red. A full flood of crimson light bleeding upward from the floor below, as though something boiling hot was glowing beneath the concrete. And in that light, something hunched on the landing just 1 floor down. Cal Becker, or what Cal Becker had become. Bare musculature glistened under torn scraps of clothing. His mouth had stretched wide, wider than any human jaw should go, teeth like splintered glass lining a gaping maw. His eyes reflected red, catching the emergency lights like an animal starving for heat. He clung to the side rail, upside down, limbs wrapped around the metal like a spider. When he saw them, his head snapped sideways with a jerky twitch. A clicking sound filled the stairwell, too fast, too sharp. Gemma whispered, "Go back, go back." But Cal launched. Dawson slammed the stairwell door shut a split second before Cal hit it. The impact boomed, bending the metal inward. Ruiz screamed. Nick shoved another rolling chair against the door. The metal dented again. Cal rammed it. No fear, only hunger. "Move!" Dawson roared. "Next floor, now!" They sprinted across the 4th floor again toward the back stairwell, the long dark stretch where the lights flickered the worst. Halfway across, Nick heard it. Not scraping, not scuttling. A thump overhead. Then another. Something running across the ceiling tiles. Gemma's voice rasped. "They're above us." Nick didn't slow. He grabbed Ruiz's arm, practically dragging her. Dawson crashed into the stairwell door, wrenching it open. Behind them, a ceiling panel buckled, then another, the sound of something fast, too fast, tearing through the ductwork overhead. Ruiz shrieked as the ceiling tile blew open behind her, dust exploding across the hallway. A hand or claw shot through the gap, swiping inches from her hair. Nick grabbed her by the back of her vest and shoved her through the doorway. They all stumbled inside the stairwell, Gemma slamming the door shut behind her with a grunt of effort. The door vibrated. Scratches raked across the other side. Something hissed. Dawson didn't wait. He pointed upward. "Armory, 5th floor, go." They climbed fast, dragging breath in ragged bursts. Every step felt steeper than the last. Nick kept close to Gemma, watching her stumble every few steps. Her breathing wasn't normal. Too fast, too shallow. Her hand trembled visibly now. "Gemma," he whispered. She didn't look at him. "Don't." But Nick heard it. A low, soft clicking sound from her throat when she exhaled. Just like the crawlers, muted, barely there, but real. His chest tightened. "You need help." She snapped her gaze to him, eyes bright, pupils sharp as pinheads. "I'm staying human," she snarled quietly. "Even if it kills me." They reached the 5th floor landing and stopped dead. The hallway was pitch black, lights shattered, glass crunching underfoot, cold air curling through the ceiling where vents hung open. Nick stepped forward, and his foot slipped in something. He looked down. Blood, a long smear of it leading down the hall. Ruiz whimpered behind him. "This is a nightmare." Dawson pulled her close. "Stay focused. Armory is 20 yards ahead." But they weren't alone. Something moved in the darkness, not crawling, not running. Pacing, waiting. Nick raised the useless flashlight like a weapon. "Do you hear that?" Gemma's breathing hitched. Her teeth clenched. Her hand twitched. "I hear everything," she whispered. A ceiling tile shifted overhead. Then another, then another. The crawlers weren't hunting blindly. They were herding them. Nick felt the truth slam into him like ice water. They were prey now. "Move!" Dawson ordered. They ran toward the faint reflection of metal mesh ahead, the armory cage just barely visible in the dark. A vent burst open above them. Something dropped, something heavy. Nick didn't look back. He reached the armory cage, and the lock pad blinked dead. Power out. Behind them, something hissed. Something close. Something hungry. Gemma grabbed Nick's arm with shaking fingers. Her skin was burning hot. "Nick," she whispered, voice breaking. "Don't let me become one of them." Then the crawlers dropped all around them. They didn't remember running. Nick only remembered the sound, the shriek of metal from vents above, claws tearing at walls, and Gemma's ragged breathing in his ear as he dragged her through the dark. Then, a slamming door, a desk shoved, a file cabinet knocked sideways. Silence. Now they were in the storage corridor between floors 4 and 5. A long, narrow hall lined with old shelving units and forgotten evidence boxes. Emergency strips along the baseboards flickered red, turning every metal shadow into something that looked ready to move. Dawson leaned against the wall, panting, one hand pressed to a slash on his ribs. Ruiz crouched beside him, shaking. Gemma knelt on the floor, one hand braced, the other gripping the sleeve tied around her wound. Her breath came in harsh, shallow pulls. Nick wasn't breathing at all. He watched her, eyes locked on her trembling fingers, on the way she kept clenching and unclenching her jaw, on the faintest tremor at the base of her neck. She caught him staring. "If you ask me if I'm okay," she rasped, "I'll punch you." He almost smiled. Almost. "You're not okay." She didn't argue. Dawson cleared his throat. "Everyone alive?" Ruiz choked out, "For now." The corridor felt wrong, too still, too quiet, like they'd slipped into the dead space between floors of a coffin. Nick didn't trust the calm. Calm meant crawlers were regrouping or listening. The silence pressed thick against his ears. Gemma wiped sweat from her temple. "We need light." Dawson nodded, pushing off the wall. "Storage closet on 4. If the backup generators didn't fry, we might get a lantern." Nick helped Gemma stand. Her legs buckled once, just once, before she steadied. He guided her with a hand at her back. She didn't swat him away this time. Ruiz led, flashlight dead in her hand, but muscle memory carrying her down the hall. Old case boxes towered over them on shelves, dusty, half-collapsed, some marked with dates decades old. They passed a stack labeled Evidence 1998, Unsolved. Rust lined the metal bins, blood dried black on one of the lids. Gemma flinched. "This building has ghosts." Nick swallowed. "Tonight it has worse." Something rattled behind the shelving unit. All 4 of them tensed. Silence again. Ruiz turned a corner first and stopped so abruptly Dawson collided with her. Nick's stomach dropped. The room was supposed to be a supply room. Instead, bodies lay everywhere. 3 officers from earlier shifts, their uniforms shredded, one pinned against the far wall by something strong enough to crush rib cages, another on her back with claw marks raked across her throat. The last was half entangled in the shelving, arms limp, fingers curled inward, like he died reaching for someone. Blood pooled under all of them, reflecting the emergency red glow like dark glass. Ruiz's breath cracked. "Oh, God." Dawson hissed, voice low, trembling despite his control. "Check corners, quiet." Nick moved slow, careful, eyes scanning every shadow. The room smelled metallic and cold with death, like steel and wet pennies blended too thick in the air. No movement, no crawling, no rasps. Just aftermath. Gemma crouched beside one of the bodies. Officer Haskins. She touched 2 fingers to his forehead for a brief second, jaw tight, eyes burning, before she stood again. "They did this fast," she whispered. "Too fast." Nick nodded. They're faster than us, smarter. Organized, Dawson added. Ruiz whimpered softly. Nick drifted toward a broken, open metal locker. Inside was a flare gun, old, dusty, probably forgotten. He grabbed it. Dawson saw, that shot will light half the building. Nick swallowed. Good, maybe they'll think twice. Gemma huffed. They won't. Nick didn't argue. A metal vent above them creaked. All four looked up instantly. Nick held his breath, waiting, listening. The vent stopped moving. Silence again. Dawson moved to the back wall where an old lantern hung. He flicked the switch. Nothing. He shook it once. Again. A faint glow sputtered to life, weak but warm enough to chase the thick shadows away. Better than nothing, he muttered. Then something strange happened. Gemma's breath hitched. She clenched a fist, nails digging into her palm as if something inside her surged up and fought her for control. Her jaw tightened so hard Nick worried her teeth would crack. He moved toward her. Gemma! I said don't, she gasped. I can fight it, I can. But her pupils contracted again, sharp, animal-like, reacting to the faint heat of the lantern, like her body sensed it the same way the crawlers sensed warmth. Nick froze. She was changing, not fast, not like Milo, but changing. She slammed her own back against the wall, forcing herself still, whispering something like a mantra under her breath. Dawson hovered, helpless. We need that medical kit downstairs. We're not going downstairs, Gemma growled. It's nest territory now. Nick's breath caught. Nest? Gemma's eyes shot to him. They're not aimless, she whispered. They're spreading out, claiming floors, marking walls, hunting in silence. Her voice broke softly. Shadow Falls is gone. Ruiz sobbed. We can't stay here. Dawson straightened, lantern shaking in his hand. We aim for the roof, radio towers up top. If we can send a message. A distant scream cut him off. Not human. Not anymore. Then a thud, then another, above them, in the walls. Nick stiffened. They're moving floors. Gemma pushed off the wall, eyes wild but focused. Then so are we. Armory's still the target. That's our only chance. The lantern flickered, the temperature dipped, cold breath curled out of Nick's mouth. Something dragged through the vent overhead, slow, deliberate, scraping metal with bone, and from deep inside the ducts. Another voice joined it. Clicking, wet, familiar. Milo. Nick's blood froze. Gemma whispered, "We have to go, now." Dawson nodded. Move. Nick took one last look at the blood-soaked room, the broken bodies, the footprints leading in and out, the smear on the wall where someone tried to crawl away and failed. Floor 4 wasn't just a crime scene, it was a warning. They stepped into the hallway, lantern flickering, and Nick felt it again. The shadow figure, standing at the end of the corridor, still watching. He blinked. Gone. Skinner, Gemma hissed. Nick tore himself away and followed them into the darkness. The lantern's glow barely reached 10 feet ahead, but it was enough to reveal the blood-smeared stairwell door and the dark throat of the 5th-floor hallway beyond it. The air here felt heavier, thicker, as though the building itself strained to breathe around them. Dawson held the lantern high. "Stay close, move quiet." Ruiz nodded shakily, clutching the empty taser like a talisman. Nick followed beside Gemma, staying close enough to catch her if her legs buckled again, or close enough to stop her if she lost control. Gemma wiped a trembling hand across her brow. Sweat dampened her hairline despite the cold. She muttered under her breath, jaw clenched, as if fighting something inside. Nick leaned in. "Gemma." She didn't look at him. "Don't ask." But he heard it. The faint, rapid clicking in the back of her throat again. Quiet, unintentional, wrong. He swallowed hard. "Just tell me if you start to lose yourself." She did look at him then, eyes bright with anger and fear. "I'll tell you when I stop being me." Dawson stopped suddenly. "Hold." Nick froze. Something lay across the hallway floor ahead, a long shape slumped against the wall. For a moment, Nick thought it was one of the crawlers waiting in the dark. Then the lantern's glow stretched farther. A body. Officer Carmine's, face down, uniform shredded, blood pooling beneath him like spilled ink. Ruiz whimpered, "No, no, no." Dawson crouched beside the corpse, pressing 2 fingers to the neck. He exhaled shakily. "He's gone." Nick scanned the darkness around them, ceilings, vents, corners. Nothing moved, but the air felt watchful. Gemma knelt beside the body too, breath unsteady. "They're marking their kills, leaving them like warnings." "Or bait," Nick murmured. Dawson stood quickly. "We keep moving. Armory's another 40 feet. They stepped past Carmine's body. Nick saw it first. A smear on the wall, high, too high for a human hand. Long fingers dragged through blood, a crawler mark, and beside it, something else. A handprint, human but elongated, stretched, half changed. Gemma's breath stuttered. "It's not just one nest," she murmured. "They're dividing up, taking territories, different floors, different packs." Nick stared at the handprint. "Then this floor belongs to..." A sudden metallic shriek cut him off. All 4 spun. A vent grill halfway down the hall buckled outward as something slammed into it from inside. The metal bowed, screws popping. Ruiz screamed and covered her ears. Dawson hissed, "Move!" They sprinted, lantern swinging wildly, shadows warping and lashing against the walls like frantic wings. Another vent shook violently, then another, more pounding, more scuttling. Nick couldn't tell how many. Too many. Gemma stumbled. Nick caught her mid-fall, pulling her upright with one arm around her waist. Her breath hitched, too sharp, too fast. Her pupils dilated and contracted in rapid pulses, reacting to the heat of his body against hers. She pressed a hand to her throat, trembling. "Nick, back up." "I'm not leaving you." She shoved him weakly. "You don't understand. I can smell you." Nick froze. His heartbeat thundered, not from fear, from realization. Gemma's senses were changing, heightening, aligning with the crawlers. His warmth was overwhelming her. But she still fought it, still clung to herself. Before Nick could respond, Dawson hissed, "There, armory." The faint outline of a metal cage appeared at the end of the hall. Mesh walls, reinforced door, heavy padlock. their salvation. They ran, boots slapping harshly on the tile. Then, a slam. A vent behind them tore open, metal clattering across the floor. A shape poured out of the duct, fluid, fast, scrambling on all fours with sickening speed. Milo. Half his face missing, skin stretched thin over bone, muscles exposed along the jawline like peeled fruit, eyes glowing with reflective, heat-seeking hunger. Ruiz screamed. Nick raised the flare gun. "Get behind me!" He fired. The flare exploded in a burst of blinding red heat, scorching across Milo's torso. The creature shrieked, a sound too high and too deep at once, body convulsing as flame clung to exposed ribs. But it didn't fall. It charged through the fire. "Go!" Nick roared. Dawson shoved Ruiz ahead. Gemma staggered next to Nick, hand pressed to her temple, fighting the clicking rising in her throat. Milo lunged. Nick swung the flare gun like a club, smashing it across the creature's jaw. Bone cracked, teeth flew, but Milo barely slowed. He pinned Nick against the wall, claws digging into the drywall on either side of his head. Hot breath raked Nick's face. The creature clicked, rapid, predatory, recognizing heat, recognizing prey. Gemma screamed, "Get off him!" She launched herself at Milo, slamming into him with everything she had left. Her forearms smashed across the creature's throat, knocking it sideways. Milo twisted, too flexible, too wrong, preparing to pounce again. Nick braced. A roar shook the hallway. Dawson swung a metal pipe from the broken vent, smashing it into Milo's skull with a sickening crunch. The creature collapsed, twitching, spasming, limbs contorting in unnatural configurations. "Go!" Dawson yelled again. "Move!" They stumbled toward the armory door. Ruiz reached it first, hands shaking uncontrollably as she tugged the dead keypad. "It's still offline." Gemma pressed her forehead to the metal grate, breath trembling. "There has to be a manual override. There's always—" The ceiling groaned. Nick looked up. More vents shaking, more claws scraping, more shadows moving. The pack had arrived. Gemma whispered, "Nick." He grabbed her hand. Dawson braced his pipe. Ruiz sobbed behind her palms. The vents above them buckled in unison. Nick whispered, "Whatever happens, we stay together." Gemma nodded once, a single, desperate motion. Her pupils flickered sharp again. And the ceiling exploded. The ceiling burst open like something alive. Metal crashed to the floor, dust exploded in a choking cloud. 3 crawlers dropped through the gap, limbs contorted, bodies twitching as they adjusted, claws dragging sparks across tile. Nick grabbed Gemma's wrist and yanked her back against the armory cage. Dawson stepped in front of Ruiz, pipe raised like a warrior with nothing left to lose. The lantern flickered violently. The crawlers froze. Their heads tilted, not at the light, but at the heat inside the lantern's bulb. Their pupils shrank to pinpoints. Nick whispered, "They see warmth." Gemma pressed her shaking hand to her stomach, breath ragged. "Then they see us." One crawler twitched forward, a jerky, unnatural movement like its bones fought its muscles for control. Another scuttled sideways on all fours, hugging the wall, ribs showing through torn flesh. The third just watched them, pacing, slow, measured. Nick didn't miss the intelligence in that one's movements. Dawson tightened his grip. "Pick a target, hit what moves." Ruiz whimpered, backing into the cage. "The door, Nick, the lock, please." Nick spun toward the keypad, still dead, no lights, no power. He cursed under his breath. Gemma pushed off the wall. "Move." She limped toward the mesh cage, fingers trembling as she traced the edges of the metal. Nick frowned. Gemma, what are you? There's always a second lock, she panted, backup mechanical, on the inside. The crawlers clicked in unison, a chilling, rapid chorus. Nick felt the truth drop into his stomach like ice. They were coordinating. Dawson struck first. The closest crawler lunged. Dawson swung hard, pipe connecting with a wet crack. The creature stumbled, limbs buckling but didn't fall. It reoriented instantly, jaws opening wide, saliva trailing like molten threads. Nick stepped forward, flare gun raised like a bat. Dawson down. Dawson ducked. Nick swung, cracked the crawler's jaw sideways. It hissed, stumbling back on crooked limbs. But the second one darted forward, impossibly fast, straight toward Gemma. "Gemma!" Nick roared. She didn't flinch, didn't scream, didn't even raise her arms. She stepped into the attack. Her hand shot forward, grabbing the crawler's wrist. Her fingers dug into exposed muscle with brutal strength Nick hadn't seen in her before. The creature shrieked as she twisted hard, flipping it onto its back. Then she staggered, her pupils dilated sharply, predator-wide. Her breath shuddered into a rapid clicking. Nick's chest seized. "Gemma, stay with me." "I'm trying," she gasped. "Just open the damn door." The third crawler screeched and launched at Dawson and Ruiz. Dawson swung wildly, pipe clanging against bone. Ruiz screamed and fell against the cage, knocking boxes from shelves behind her. They didn't have time. Nick grabbed the mesh and scanned for the manual lock, a tiny inset slot hidden along the side panel. There, he jammed his fingers between the wires, scraping knuckles raw until he felt the latch inside. Twist, click, rust grinding. One more turn. The crawlers shrieked behind him, a sound too close, too hungry. The lock finally snapped open. "In!" Nick shouted. Dawson shoved Ruiz inside first. Nick pulled Gemma in next, her legs buckling as he caught her weight against his chest. The clicking in her throat faded, replaced by ragged breaths and whispered curses. Dawson stumbled inside last and slammed the cage door shut. The crawlers hit the mesh instantly, claws scraped, teeth gnawed, bodies slammed with bone-cracking force. But the cage held, barely. Ruiz sobbed into her hands. "Oh God, oh God." Dawson pressed his back against the mesh as it rattled under impact. "Skinner, weapons, now." Nick staggered toward the rows of locked metal drawers, shotguns, pistols, boxes of ammo. Salvation. He grabbed the first shotgun he saw and racked it, breath burning with adrenaline. Gemma sat on the floor with her back to the wall, head tipped back, sweat dripping down her jaw. Her hand trembled violently against her thigh. Nick knelt beside her. She whispered, "Nick, I'm losing time. I don't remember what happened right before the ceiling fell." His heart broke in his chest. "We're going to save you," he whispered. She let out a weak laugh. "You better. I'm not dying in a Christmas precinct with you idiots." Nick smiled despite the terror clawing through him. Outside the cage, the crawlers shrieked and tore and clawed. Inside the cage, Nick loaded the shotgun. The fight wasn't over. It was just beginning. The cage rattled so hard the metal groaned. Crawlers slammed into the mesh again and again, claws hooking through the grid, teeth snapping inches from Ruiz's hair. Their screeches bounced around the armory like ricocheting bullets. Nick kept his back to Gemma, shotgun raised, barrel following every jolt of movement outside. "Dawson," Nick hissed. "They're not stopping." "They never stop," Dawson growled, loading shells with shaking hands. "They're feeding off each other. Once one attacks, the whole damn pack joins in." As if on cue, another vent above them screeched open. Dust rained down. A crawler dropped half into the cage, shoulders and torso wedged in the opening, snarling and writhing to force the rest of its body through. Ruiz screamed. Nick fired. The blast tore the creature back into the ceiling with a spray of muscle and bone. Its limbs twitched as it disappeared into the dark crawl space. Silence didn't follow. More screeches came instead. Answering, enraged. Dawson cursed under his breath. They're getting through whether we're ready or not. Nick grabbed a second shotgun from the rack and passed it to Gemma. Her fingers trembled so hard she almost dropped it. "Gemma," he whispered, "look at me." It took her a moment. Her pupils were sharp again, predatory, flickering like she was trying to keep them human by force. "Fight it," Nick murmured. "Stay with me." Her jaw clenched. "Don't give me orders, rookie." But her voice cracked on the last word. Nick tightened his grip on her shoulder. "You're Gemma Kane. You don't break, you don't bow, and you're not dying on a cold tile floor tonight." Her breathing hitched, but she held the shotgun tighter. A shadow passed across the mesh. Nick's head snapped up. The tall one, the watcher, not a crawler, not human. A hooded silhouette stood beyond the carnage, unmoving while the pack shrieked and tore around it. Its presence sucked the warmth out of the air, a cold ripple that crawled over Nick's skin. "What the hell?" Dawson whispered. Ruiz backed into the corner. "It's watching us. Why is it watching us?" The figure tilted its head, slowly, like studying their panic. Then it dissolved back into the dark. Nick didn't have time to process because the crawlers struck all at once. One tore open the weakened vent and dropped straight into the cage behind Ruiz. Nick spun, fired, shot too late. The crawler landed on all fours and froze. Its eyes locked onto Gemma, heat recognition, scent. Something deeper. Gemma gasped, hand flying to her throat. It smells me." Nick stepped in front of her, shotgun raised. "Over my dead body." The creature lunged. Nick fired point blank. The blast threw it backward into the mesh, body twitching, limbs spasming, blood steamed where it hit the cold tiles. But more crawlers were already forcing their arms through the cage grid, fingers clawing at Ruiz's hair, snatching at Dawson's jacket. Dawson roared, smashing a shotgun butt into the nearest arm. "We're not dying in a cage." Nick scanned the walls, the vents, the cracks, looking for anything, any chance. There! An emergency ladder hatch above the armory shelves, half hidden behind a stack of riot shields. "Roof access!" he shouted. "Up and out, now!" Dawson grabbed Ruiz and shoved her toward the shelves. "Climb!" Ruiz scrambled up, hands slipping on metal, sobs shaking her whole body. Another crawler forced its whole face through the mesh grid, skin tearing, bone splitting as it shoved deeper. Its jaws snapped inches from Nick's shoulder. He fired through the grid. The recoil slammed him back into Gemma's chest. She caught him, breath ragged against his ear. "Nick, you're going up second," he said, grabbing her waist. "I'm not negotiating." Her eyes flashed. Human, then not. But she climbed. Dawson followed, firing down through the grid at anything that moved. Crawlers shrieked beneath them, clawing, scrambling, piling onto each other in a frenzy. Nick climbed last, pulling the ladder up behind him. The metal hatch slammed shut. The screams echoed below, furious, starving, relentless. But for the first time since this nightmare began, Nick could breathe. They'd reached the final floor. The roof was only one more hatch away, but so was the truth. and the shadow figure waited for them, silent, watching, inviting. The rooftop hatch burst open with a metallic groan. An icy December wind slammed into them like a wall. Nick helped Gemma up first, her legs buckling as she crawled onto the gravel-coated roof. Dawson lifted Ruiz next, then hauled himself out while Nick kicked the hatch shut behind them. Below, the crawlers shrieked, muffled but furious, pounding against the metal door with desperate, violent hunger. The storm above was worse. Snow whipped in diagonal sheets across the rooftop, stinging Nick's face, coating Gemma's shoulders in white. Emergency floodlights from the parking lot below cast long, fractured shadows across the rooftop's antennas and vents. Ruiz collapsed to her knees, sobbing into frozen palms. Dawson staggered, pipe still in hand, blood staining the snow beneath his jacket. Nick turned to Gemma. She swayed on her feet. Her breath puffed in short bursts. Her pupils contracted, then expanded, like she was staring into too much light or too much heat. Her hand trembled violently as she reached for him. Nick. Her voice was barely a whisper. I'm slipping. He grabbed her shoulders, forcing her to meet his eyes. You're still here. She blinked, slow, pained. How can you be so sure? Because you warned me, Nick said. A crawler doesn't warn anyone. She exhaled shakily, eyes flicking toward Dawson and Ruiz. I don't want to hurt them. You won't, Nick breathed. Not while I'm breathing. A metallic clang echoed behind them. Nick spun. The rooftop's far maintenance door creaked open slowly. On its own. Wind didn't move it like that. The tall shadow stepped through. The cloaked figure moved with unnatural stillness. No foot crunch, no breath, no sway. It glided through the snow as though the air parted around it. Dawson raised the pipe. Skinner, what the hell is that? Nick didn't answer, because the figure finally stopped and turned its head toward them. A soft pulse rippled through the air, warm, impossible warmth, as if the figure itself emitted heat. Gemma gasped. Her hand flew to her chest. She felt it. The crawlers felt heat, but this heat was different. The cloak fluttered in the wind, revealing glimpses of skin underneath. Not crawler skin, not human skin. Something in between. Smooth, darkened, veins glowing faintly like embers. Ruiz whispered, horrified. Is that another one of them? The figure raised one hand, long fingers, elegant, deadly, and curled its fist. A deafening shriek erupted beneath the hatch. One of the crawlers had climbed halfway through. But the creature froze mid-crawl. Its spine arched unnaturally, bones cracked outward. Its limbs jerked and twisted as if puppeted by invisible strings. Then, its body folded inward like crushed metal. The figure dropped its fist. The crawler collapsed through the hatch like a sack of broken limbs. Dawson whispered hoarsely, "Holy hell." Nick felt his lungs tightening. This thing wasn't hunting them. It was protecting them. Gemma staggered forward, drawn toward the heat. It's like me. Nick grabbed her arm. Gemma. But she wasn't afraid. She was mesmerized. The figure lifted its head, slow, deliberate, revealing a jawline that was almost human, but too sharp, too smooth. Its eyes glowed faintly beneath the hood, reflecting light like the crawlers, and yet intelligent, focused, present. Nick tightened his grip. "Gemma, stay behind me." But the figure raised a hand toward her, not attacking, not threatening, acknowledging. Snow whirled around them, caught in an unnatural circle of warm air radiating outward from the creature. Gemma whispered, breath breaking. "It's the first, the mutation that stayed human." The figure's head tilted, a small, almost sympathetic motion. Dawson stepped forward. "What do you want from—" The figure turned its head sharply. Nick followed its gaze. Across the snowy rooftop, the far ventilation unit rattled violently, metal buckling inward, and then Milo burst through. Fully transformed, no skin left, no face left, just muscle, claws, hunger, and hate. Rui screamed. The figure didn't protect them this time, not yet. Nick stepped in front of Gemma and raised the shotgun. "Stay behind me." Milo lunged. Claws out, jaws open, shriek, ripping the storm in half. Boom. Nick fired. The blast tore Milo sideways, but the creature didn't fall. It scrambled to its feet, snarling. The figure lifted a hand, but Gemma beat it to the strike. She moved faster than she had since the infection started. A burst of instinct and dying humanity fused together. She slammed into Milo, jamming the shotgun barrel under his jaw. "No more," she growled. She fired. Milo fell, silent, still. Gemma collapsed to her knees in the snow, shaking violently. Nick rushed to her. "Gemma, talk to me." She caught his wrist, grip desperate. "I'm still here," she rasped. But not for long. The figure approached, footsteps silent, and crouched beside her. It reached out, slowly, its hand hovering just above Gemma's cheek like it was offering something unseen. Nick's breath stopped. The air warmed. Gemma's trembling lessened, her pupils steadied. Not human. Not crawler. Something balanced on the edge. The figure whispered, a sound like wind inside stone. Then it stood, facing the city, and vanished into the snow. Just gone. Nick held Gemma tight. Dawson helped Ruiz to her feet. The crawlers below screamed as if mourning the loss of their master, or acknowledging the rise of a new one. Sirens wailed in the distance. Sunlight broke over the edge of the precinct. Gemma exhaled. "I'm not cured. It's still in me." Nick pressed his forehead to hers. "We'll figure it out." Across town, the world was still moving. Snow drifted over quiet streets, Christmas lights blinking softly in storefront windows. And on the sidewalk, a news crew stood beneath a glowing street lamp, reporting calmly, obliviously, as if the night hadn't split open across the precinct.
"No official statement yet from Shadow Falls PD,"
the reporter said, smiling gently at the camera. But when she blinked, her pupils flashed sharp and reflective. A glint, quick, wrong, inhuman. The infection wasn't contained. It had already spread.